be a screw, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of, What If Ichigo Enters Claymore? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Hollowfied tweaker on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Karakura Town. Laying in bed, Ichigo Kurosaki can't sleep, no matter how hard he tries. He stares constantly at the ceiling of his bedroom, pondering about what's bothering him. The calm, quiet atmosphere seems to only perplex his nerves. He's extremely disturbed about the events that transpired several weeks ago. During the time in Hueco Mundo to rescue Orihime, he unintentionally transformed into an extremely powerful hollow after nearly dying at the hands of the fourth espada, Ulquiorra Cypher. Even though Ulquiorra was in his second release, Resurrección Segunda Etapa, he was still overpowered by the transformed, hollow Ichigo. This form as described by Orihime and Yuryu, was relentless, uncontrollable, almost mindless and terrifying. He nearly killed Yuryu Ishida while the latter tried unsuccessfully to stop him. Why, he asked himself, how did this happen? I don't remember anything. Well, I do in a way. I remember being underwater, fighting someone. Why the hell can't I remember? Small visions of aizen and, I don't even really know what's bothering me exactly, but I feel that there's something seriously wrong here. I feel it in the pit of soul, that I'm not all there, somehow. What he does remember is the last confrontation he had with his inner hollow, the last words he spoke after being beaten, before he disappeared. Oh, and here's a warning. If you really want to control my power, do your best not to die until the next time I appear. What the hell did he mean by that? Ichigo wondered, I need answers. I have to speak with both of them. His latest visit to his inner world did nothing but provide more unanswered questions and confusion. Upon arriving, Ichigo knew there was something amiss. Thick fog and a deafening silence is what greeted him. The atmosphere in this world was unusually dark and unnerving. What the hell is going on here? What's this, fog? As he traveled from building to building, he called out to both individuals that normally resides there. In Ichigo's mind, these two would be the only ones who could answer most, if not all, the questions running through his head. Although, he's truly not even sure what those questions are. Old man. Old man, he yelled, where the hell are you? Damn it. I don't have time for this. Silence, nothing but silence. Zangetsu. Old man Zangetsu. Again, nothing. Not even the sound of wind flew past his ears. Traveling a little further, he comes upon an unsettling sight. He sees his hollow Zanpakuto, the white Zangetsu with the black blade, planted into the side of a building. Only about half the blade is exposed. The long, black, cloth wrapping at the end of the tang, swayed gently in the light wind. What the hell is going on? He looked around, searching for any signs, but there was nothing, just the same fog and silence that was present when he arrived. In a fit of rage, he unleashes a Getsuga Tensho. The buildings directly in the path of his attack are struck head-on, without mercy. An explosion ensues, causing smoke and debris to fly in all directions from the point of impact. Eerily however, after the onslaught, the deafening silence returned. Where the hell are you guys? He screams out, frantically. Back in Ichigo's room, his need for answers begin to driving him insane. He looks at the clock, 11:55 p.m. Suddenly, the appearance of an enormous Ryatsu breaks his chain of thought and he quickly sits up in bed. What the hell? he said to himself, a nearby hollow. Utilizing his substitute Shinigami badge, he changes to his Shinigami persona as his human body quietly falls limp on the bed. He momentarily stares at the empty shell of himself, thinking for some unknown reason that he won't ever see it again. Quickly dismissing that particular thought, he swiftly makes his way out the window. His mind is still quite chaotic and he wonders if he'll be able to handle the coming situation without being distracted by such things. Of course I will, he thinks to himself. I'll do whatever I have to. After traveling several kilometers, he comes to the area where he sensed the tremendous spiritual pressure, but finds nothing. He looks around, but everything's quiet. No signs of any kind of disturbance. What the hell, he said, am I going crazy? He then senses two strong, familiar Ryatsu coming from behind his 6 o'clock. Rukia, Renji, he said. Ichigo, what was that Ryatsu earlier? Asked Rukia. Yeah, it woke me up, said Renji, I was trying to get some rest. Any idea what it was? I don't know, it seems to have disappeared as soon as I got here, exclaimed Ichigo. Well, whatever it is, it's gone now, said a voice. The three look down to see that Ishida is standing below them near the street. Yuryu, you're here too? Asked Ichigo, somewhat surprised. Of course, why wouldn't I come, said Ishida, I sensed that strong Ryatsu as well, I wasn't just going to sit around and do nothing. Sorry, forget I asked. Ichigo said in a low voice. Seems to be a waste of time, said Renji angrily, there's nothing here. Just then, a rip in the fabric of the surrounding space near their location appears. Slowly, the hands and head of a large hollow is shown coming through the tear until its entire body fully emerges. It's a Minos Grande, a Jillian, yelled Rukia, what's it doing here? Don't know, but I'll take care of this. Ichigo responds, hastily rushing headlong towards the enormous hollow. Wait, something isn't right. There's something wrong here, Ichigo. Rukia screamed. Her words fall on deaf ears as the substitute Shinigami races toward the hollow with reckless abandon. In mere seconds, he closes the distance between them and attacks with a wide sweep of his Zanpakuto, aiming for the creature's mask. The hollow surprisingly blocks the attack, which visibly surprises Ichigo. He attacks it several more times, but the results are the same as the first. He then drives his sword into the hollow's body, causing it to shriek in pain. He momentarily stares at the way his Zanpakuto is deeply embedded in the side of the hollow, with only a partial amount of the blade exposed and the cloth wrapping swaying around wildly in the wind. His thoughts change to the sight of his inner hollow Zanpakuto alone in the foggy, silent inner world. Confounded, Ichigo pauses for several seconds, giving the Jillian enough time to grab him with both hands. The hollow begins to squeeze Ichigo, causing him to scream out in pain. The hollow then opens its mouth and begins charging a Zero. The familiar red light begins to form in front of the hollow's mouth. However, before it's able to fire it at the young Soul Reaper, Ichigo finally comes to his senses and breaks free from the hollow's grasp. Look! Ishida says while pointing up, above the hollow. Rukia and Renji look up to see the clouds directly above both the Jillian and Ichigo, form into a swirling vortex. In a matter of seconds, it grows larger and takes the form of an upside-down tornado, unbeknownst to a distracted Ichigo. I've had enough of you, Getsuga 10. Before he is able to initiate his attack, the Jillian is suddenly pulled up towards the vortex. In a futile attempt, it fires a Zero into the eye of the uncanny storm, causing it to intensify and change to a brilliant, crimson red. The hollow starts to twist and stretch as it desperately tries to break free from the enormous suction emanating from the inverted twister. The hollow grabs onto a couple of buildings, but both break and crumble as its body begins to stretch to the point of almost snapping in half like a giant, black rubber band. Its head quickly disappears into the growing vortex, and just as quickly, its entire body gets completely sucked in. What in the world is that? It just completely sucked up that Jillian. Rukia said with anxiety. I don't know, but it's getting stronger. Ishida says, if we don't stop it now, it could SCK up the whole city. Wait, what's Ichigo doing? The other two look up and see the vortex grow in size, power and intensity while Ichigo hovers in front of it. He seems to be oblivious to the fact that his life is in immediate danger. His thoughts continue to revert back to the events that happened in his inner world. He sees a glimpse of a shadowy figure and hears a menacing, unfamiliar voice, once you glance into the abyss, it's hard to turn away. Likewise, the abyss will always stare into your soul. Be careful not to turn into the evil that you've been fighting all this time, because once you're there, I'm gonna take over. His thoughts are broken by the voice of the one who has always cared about him. Ichigo, what are you doing, stupid? Wake up, will ya, screamed Rukia angrily. Ichigo snaps out of his delusion. What? He said, looking around. Behind you, dummy, Rukia screamed again, move. Ichigo turns his head and watches as the vortex move closer toward his direction. Ichigo, get the hell out of there, yelled Renji. I can't, I'm being pulled in. Ichigo raged back. Damn it. Renji growled, howl, Zabumaru. Renji swings his Zanpakuto in a wide sweeping arc, extending Zabumaru to its full length, which catapults its way toward Ichigo. On cue, the Zanpakuto quickly wraps itself around the substitute Soul Reaper, which in turn, causes Renji to be pulled violently forward due to the tremendous pressure caused by the localized unnatural windstorm. Renji! Rukia yelled, hold on. It's 2DMN strong, we're both being pulled in. Renji yelled back. Dance, Sodi no Shirayuki, Sum no Mai, Tsukishiro. A large, circular pillar of ice forms from the ground up into the sky in front of Renji. Renji, grab the ice. Rukia pleaded. I got it, Renji tells her. The plan seems to be working for the moment. Rukia looks down and sees Ishida powering up an unusually large spirit arrow. His plan is to shoot the tail end of the vortex and cause an explosion large enough to disrupt the airflow. He's hoping this will cause it to collapse in on itself. Rukia's ice pillar begins to crack. The fracture starts from Renji's location and travels horizontally across the pillar. Yuryu, she yells at Ishida, whatever it is you're planning, do it fast, Renji can't hold on for much longer. I know. But if I shoot this arrow too early without absorbing enough erasure, it will be totally ineffective. Ishida explains to her. Several seconds pass. It seems more like hours. The spirit arrow is finally ready and Ishida aims carefully, aiming at the very tip of the funnel's tail. He looks at Renji struggling to grasp the chunk of ice while at the same time, holding on to Zabumaru with sheer willpower. He sees Ichigo swaying around violently in the turbulence as Renji's Zanpakuto is wrapped around him, almost like a kite in the middle of a hurricane. It's an easy shot, he thinks to himself, concentrate, almost, now. He releases the arrow and in an instant, it quickly passes Rukia and Renji. Just then, Ichigo's body begins to stretch and twist. He screams as his body stretches apart like the hollows did mere minutes ago. Ichigo is pulled loose from Zabumaru's grip and dragged towards the mouth of the vortex. The arrow streaks past him but it's too late. Rukia screams, Ichigo. As well as Ishida and Renji, Kurosaki. Ichigo. A fraction of a second before the arrow hits its intended target, Ichigo disappears into the swirling, chaotic mass of energy. The massive explosion caused by Ishida's spirit arrow is deafening and so bright that Rukia, Renji, and Ishida have to look away. The violent winds and aftershock of the explosion threaten to sweep them all away. Imagine being tossed into a giant blender, full of acid, at the highest speed setting, while inside the sun's corona. Ichigo doesn't need to imagine, he's living proof that a person could experience such an event. Lucky for him, it doesn't last long, then darkness engulfs him. He thinks things can't get any worse, but he is wrong. Suddenly, he collides into something large. The shock of the impact is so great that he is unable to remain conscious and completely blacks out. How long he's been unconscious or how much time has passed, he isn't really certain. Pain, lots of it, is something he feels over his entire body. In a way, it's a good thing. Now he knows that he isn't dead. He hears voices, faint at first then somewhat distinguishable. Female voices. Who, what are they saying? Who is he? One voice asked. What the hell's he doing here? I don't know, another one said. He might be a survivor of this massacre. He just suddenly appeared and fell from the sky, said another voice. I can't believe a human could survive such a fall. This isn't the time or place, we're in the middle of a battle, yelled the first voice. Just grab him and go, now. I'll get him out of here, another voice yells, the rest of you keep fighting. Alright, all the other voices say. Ichigo tries to open his eyes, but everything's hazy, a giant blur. Then slowly his vision starts to sharpen. He hears screams, some are women, the others sound like hollows. He looks left and sees several women wearing medieval armor and brandishing huge claymore swords, fighting against two Jillians. Where the hell am I? He thinks to himself. He tries to move, but his body won't respond. Move, damn it, he says, move, 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 move. Don't worry, I've got you, he hears a woman's voice say. Ichigo turns his head toward the sound of the voice and looks at the woman talking to him. He notices that she too dons the same type of armor and brandishes the same enormous sword, just like the others. He glances at her face for several moments and is awestruck, just like a deer staring at a pair of oncoming headlights. His eyes widen and his heart thumps loudly. It can't be, it just can't. How? He says with a shocked look on his face. Mom, is that you? In a small valley surrounded by mountains, several miles southeast of Pieta, the snow has stopped falling for the moment. A moderate breeze begins sweeping through the area, blowing snow in an easterly direction. "Mom," the Claymore said with a look of bewilderment on her face, "sorry to disappoint you kid, but I'm not your mother. You must have hit your head on the ground really hard from that fall you took." Ichigo continues staring at her with a dumbfounded look. "Geez, humans, what a pain, whatever, look, we gotta go, now," she said, sounding somewhat annoyed. She picks Ichigo up and places him on her left shoulder without much effort and hustles away from the battlefield. She runs up the side of the mountain with inhuman speed and in mere moments, closes in on her destination. Wait, where's my Zanpakuto?" he asked grunting. "Huh, you're what?" she asked, "please shut up while I save your life, okay? You people really are a pain in the butt." As soon as they reach the ridgeline closest to the valley, but safely away from the battle, she finds a hole in the rocks and places Ichigo inside, albeit a little rough. She stands up, looks down at the battle before her and pulls out her broadsword. But before she can leave, Ichigo calls to her, who seems to have regained his senses again. "Wait, what's going on here? What's happening?" he asked in a loud tone. "Not only are you human, but you're also kinda stupid. We're fighting against a group of Yoma, including two very large awakened beings or so she believes with, strange, enormous yoki, quite different than anything I've ever sensed. Those two just appeared out of nowhere. I don't know what to make of it," she tells him. "A what?" "Yoma, awakened beings." Ichigo said, looking a bit confused, "What I saw were two hollows." "Jillians." "Huh. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about," she yells, "I've got no time for this. Stay here if you want to keep on living." The Claymore turns and departs quickly towards the battle. Ichigo tells her to hold on, but she's already halfway down the side of the hill before he can utter those words. Frustrated, he slowly starts to crawl out from under the rocks where she placed him and edges his way forward to get a better look at what's happening down below. What he sees horrifies him to his core. Hundreds of dead, human bodies lay scattered all over the snowy landscape. Nearly all of them torn apart. Also, Alongside the human bodies are the dead carcasses of strange-looking monsters, and more surprising to him are the remains of hollows. So many dead bodies, this is horrible. What in the world is going on here? And those hollows, aren't they supposed to disappear once they've been struck down? Their bodies are still there for some reason. How's that possible? Ichigo says aloud. The 6 claymores below slowly dispatch the group of Yoma that has surrounded them, but with the appearance of the hollows, it makes the task highly difficult even with most of the warriors using half of their Yoma powers. The number 23 Claymore, Tiffany and number 42, Isidora team up to engage a large Yoma. The Yoma charges at the 2 warriors, extracting his claws at the tips of his fingers. Long, bony blade springs out from both elbows, quickly extending and swings in the direction of the claymores. Tiffany jumps high in the air to avoid the attack, then brings her sword to the left side of her body, holding it with both hands. Isidora rushes forward and easily ducks the attack. In one quick motion, she cuts off both of the Yoma's legs with her sword. Tiffany, before landing on the ground, swings her sword wide and slices the Yoma's head horizontally in half. He doesn't scream, there was no time to. Another one down, 4 left. As Ichigo watches the battle at a distance, his eyes begin to open wide and he starts to yell. Behind you! The hollow's gonna shoot us, Zero. Look out! Tiffany and Isidora don't hear him. He's a little too far away, and because of the fact that in the midst of battle, a person's focus is sometimes on one objective, to kill the enemy. Things happen very quickly in a battlefield, unfortunately for them, they're going to find out firsthand how quick. Both claymores feel the strange, enormous yoki behind them. In Ichigo's world, what they're feeling is actually called ryatsu or spiritual pressure. This is the first time that they've ever felt anything this strong. So strong in fact that it leaves them paralyzed for but a moment. A moment is all the time the hollow needs. They both turn their heads to look back and see the giant hollow with the long, pointed nose staring down at them. A bright, red light begins to grow in size and intensity, directly in front of its open mouth. The captain of the group hears Ichigo screaming. She looks around and sees the chaos that's about to happen. Isidora, Tiffany, get the hell out of there, she screams in vain. Too late. A huge red beam shoots out from the hollow's mouth. Isidora doesn't have time to move. The top part of her body is engulfed by the Zero. Her body is thrown dozens of yards away and lands into the side of a hill. There isn't much left of her upper body. Her head is all but disintegrated. Tiffany jumps away but barely dodges the attack. The beam hits her left arm and she spins counterclockwise and slams hard into the ground. The captain yells again. Tiffany, Isidora. Damn it. Ichigo yells aloud with frustration, I gotta get up and do something. I'm not going to let another one of them get killed. The snow finally returns along with the wind. Unknown to mostly all of the participants of this battle, except for the Claymore captain, they are being watched carefully by 2 different groups. One located closer to them in the south and the other, located northwest, high in the mountains. The group in the north, are 7 in total. All wearing long cloaks with hoods covering their heads. All of them are women. The group in the south, have a total of 5. All are men. The leader of this group has been grinning ever since the appearance of the 2 hollows. Heh, 2 creatures this time. Perfect. Once they are all killed, we'll use them to make ourselves even stronger. Was it really necessary to use our Yoma as cannon fodder? The one at the end asked. The answer is quite obvious, without doing so, our plans could not continue forward, he said, noticeably irritated. I do things for a reason, something you may not understand. So don't ask me any more stupid questions. What if the warriors can't defeat those 2 creatures? Another one asked, they've already lost 3 from their group. You may have your doubts, but remember, the captain of that group is the organization's number 3, Galatea, the leader responds. She's the same one that rescued that human boy from the battlefield, utters another. That's correct, he says with a slight smile. Speaking of the witch, I believe that boy came through the portal right after the second creature appeared. I wonder what his connection is with those lumbering giants. Anyways, in the slight chance that Galatea is unsuccessful and her group is killed, I want you to go there and finish the job. Bring me their heads along with their masks. Do you understand me, Lugar? Of course, Ziger, I'll take care of it. He says with a growing grin. The scara of his eyes slowly turning black. The hollow turns its attention towards Galatea and the rest of the claymores. It fires another Zero. Look out, she yells at her group. Most of them manage to dodge the beam except for one, number 38 Laura. She loses both of her legs and is knocked unconscious in the process. The Zero not only incapacitates one of the claymores, but manages to kill two Yoma as well. The Yoma are not pleased, to say the least. One of them jumps towards the hollow in a futile attempt to avenge the two that were cut down. The Yoma opens his mouth and dozens of small spears shoot out, some hitting the hollow's body and causing it to scream out in pain. Most of the spears actually traveled straight through the hole in the center of the hollow's chest. The hollow grabs the Yoma in midair with its right hand, its arm emerging from the side of its body. It then brings its hand up towards its mouth, clutching the Yoma with a strong grip. The hollow charges a Zero. In a desperate attempt to save his life, the Yoma transforms his right arm into a long WHP with two blades at the end, forming a large, two-sided axe. He swings, but misses the hollow that's holding him. Instead, his attack swings up into the air then down, hitting the ground and causing debris to fly in all directions. One of the blades accidentally hooks onto something metallic, it's Sangetsu. The hollow shoots the Zero and literally blows the Yoma in half. The upper and lower parts of his body, flying in different directions. Zangetsu is knocked loose from the Yoma's transformed arm. Ichigo sees his Zanpakuto thrown high and far into the air, which lands near the base of the hill below his location. The tip of the blade being embedded in the ground with only half of the sword exposed. His Zanpakuto's white, cloth wrapping attached to the tang, begins swaying furiously in the strong, snowy wind. Za, Zangit, Su, Ichigo said in a low, almost whispering tone. His thoughts again revert back to that time in his foggy, empty inner world where he found nothing but Ojisi's Zanpakuto. You really are quite pathetic, Ichigo Kurosaki, a voice said in a deep tone, you'll never amount to anything with that fragile psyche of yours. So much potential but such a weak and foolish soul. You smell of fear. It's eating you alive. Why don't you just crawl back under that rock you were hiding in and call for your mommy? Oh, that's right, you can't 'cause she's dead. Who said that? Who's there? Don't you ever talk about my mother again, you bstrd, I'll kill you. Do you hear me? Yells Ichigo at the top of his lungs. Heh, look at you, lying there like a wounded puppy. I'm supposed to be afraid of you. Ha, I'll tear your soul apart without breaking a sweat. I'll bet you can't even save that woman who rescued you earlier. The one that you thought was your dear departed mother. She's going to get killed just like your real mom, all because USCK. Shut you up. Just shut the hell up, DMNU, yells Ichigo, even louder than before, I'll RIP your DMN head off. Show yourself, you BSTRD. Hey loser, maybe you should change your name to Sukshigo, ha 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 ha, the voice retorts. Screw you. You BSTRD. Ichigo screamed angrily, unwittingly releasing an outrageous amount of Ryatsu at the same time. Everyone present in the area, pause for a second, feeling Ichigo's colossal, overwhelming spiritual pressure, even the hollows give pause and look his way. The remaining Yoma is smart and runs away from the battle, in the opposite direction. What the hell is that? Could it be that boy from earlier? Galatea wondered, is he some kind of awakened being? Interesting, that boy has more strange yoki than those two creatures combined. Zijer tells the group, we have a change of plans everyone. The boy is your new target, Lugar, annihilate him and bring me his head instead. It'll be my pleasure, he says calmly with a smile growing across his face. In the north, the entire group of women feels Ichigo's Ryatsu as well, even from their distance. The leader removes her hood as the snow blows across her face. Did you feel that too, Miria? One woman asked. Of course, Tabitha, I believe we all did, answered Miria, we didn't need your abilities to sense that strange and powerful yoki. I wouldn't be surprised if the organization felt it as well. We might be dealing with a new kind of awakened being, something very dangerous that could threaten not only us, but all the lands here. What's the plan? A short-haired woman asked. Helen, I want you, Claire, Deneve, Cynthia, Tabitha and Uma to continue hiding yourselves in the north, ordered Miria. If any of you must leave for any reason, I want 2 or more of you traveling together. Nobody is to travel alone, is that understood? Yes, Captain, they all say. Also, try to avoid any and all contact. That includes other warriors from the organization as well as Yoma, especially awakened beings. Miria continued, I'm going to take a closer look. Claire, Helen and Deneve requests to come with her, but she outright refuses and tells them to get back to the northern lands immediately. Miria puts her hood back over her head and disappears down the mountainside. All the women turn and begin walking in the other direction, except for one. Claire removes her hood and says out loud, be careful Miria, come back safe, if you don't, I'll never forgive you. Southeast of Pieta. The heavy snowfall and howling winds hint at the possibility of an upcoming storm. Ichigo stands on top of the hill, shouting angrily at the voice which taunted him earlier. He stands in the middle of the snowstorm as the Ryatsu he's putting out is causing the snow falling around him to swirl and disperse outward in a counterclockwise direction high into the air. Ichigo isn't aware that his emotional outburst is turning the tide of battle in favor of the Hollows due to his overwhelming spiritual pressure. Number 21 Valerie and number 26 Morgan are barely able to stand, let alone fight. Galatea is less affected by it, however, being the only warrior capable of fighting against the 2 Jillians, her chances of success is very slim. Then again, there's a reason why she's number 3 in the organization. The Hollows feel Galatea's Yoma energy build up. They turn their attention away from Ichigo and back to her. Captain, the yoki coming from that boy is strong, I'm having a difficult time, walking. Morgan said, breathing heavily, I don't think I have a choice but to use more, Yoma energy. No. I can't have either of you taking chances of awakening. Galatea responds, I'll hold them back, you two get Tiffany and Laura. They're both defensive warriors so they can heal quickly as long as they concentrate. Find a safe place for them and get back here as soon as possible. The boy's yoki is starting to wane. His emotions are calming down. Go. But, Captain, Morgan complained with a sound of worry in her voice. I said, go. Galatea yells back, there's no time. Valerie and Morgan quickly leave their captain and split up. One heading towards Tiffany and the other heading towards Laura. Galatea stands her ground and stares at the Hollows without batting an eye. Her long, blonde hair sways wildly to her left as she pulls out her claymore. The Hollow with the long, pointed nose looks her way and charges a Zero. In an instant, she runs up the side of the Hollow's body, slashing in several directions multiple times. The Hollow tries to swat her like a fly with one hand, but she manages to jump away in time. She performs a backflip in midair, landing on the Hollow's arm near the wrist while simultaneously stabbing the back of its hand. In one quick motion, she swings her sword to the left and slices the hand off. The Hollow shrieks in pain and uncontrollably shoots off the Zero it was charging beforehand. Galatea quickly runs up the Hollow's arm, jumps then lands on one of the spikes protruding from its neck. Using the spike as a springboard, she launches herself towards its face. She grabs the hollow's nose and swings over, then slashes both eyes, blinding it. The hollow howls as Galatea jumps off of its nose, sliding all the way down to the ground. After landing, she quickly turns towards the hollow and begins to concentrate. She assumes that if she's able to control an awakened being's movements by manipulating its yoki, then it should be just as easy with this creature. Although the energy signatures are apparently different, manipulation of energy is basically the same. Wounded and blind, the hollow begins shooting multiple zeros in different directions, one nearly hitting Ichigo. The blast knocks him to the ground, snapping him back to his senses again. He shakes his head back and forth, then slowly stands up, looking around. He notices two of the female warriors helping the injured ones, then sees Galatea kneeling motionless in front of the injured hollow. Fearing for her safety, he scampers down the hill while looking around for his Zanpakuto. Snow has covered the entire area, including all the bodies he saw earlier, along with his sword, making the search difficult. What the hell's she doing? He asked himself. Why isn't she trying to get away? He gets to the base of the mountain and frantically searches for Zangetsu, but there's so much snow now that it'll probably take nothing short of a miracle to find it in time. Galatea slowly gains control of the injured hollow. The energy signature is so different that it's taking more time than she expected to adjust. Finally, it slowly turns in the opposite direction while continuing to shoot off more zeros. One zero hits the other hollow directly, causing a huge explosion. Smoke mixes with snow and ice, so thick that it's impossible to see anything. Galatea uses her huge sword as a shield, blocking most of the flying debris and ice shrapnel coming her way. As the smoke slowly clears, the head of the second hollow emerges and suddenly bites the injured hollow. Galatea is in slight shock as she watches one hollow consume the other. What the hell is happening here, she says to herself, why is it eating the other one? She notices that the mask on the second hollow is different from the one she was fighting. This one didn't have eyes or a nose, just four long vertical holes running from above its mouth to its forehead. She gets up and quickly moves away from the area as Valerie and Morgan finally meet up with her. Galatea asks how the other two are doing, and they tell her that both are slowly regenerating their lost limbs. I really don't know what's happening, but once that creature is finished eating the other one, I'm certain that it will come after us next. Galatea tells them, I've got a plan. What is it? They both ask. It's pretty simple, really, she says, both of you attack its legs while I go for its head. Those things aren't very smart, they're slow and have practically only one form of attack, that red light that shoots out of its mouth. It's powerful, but needs several seconds to build up. Alright, we'll be ready, said Valerie, staring at Morgan, who nods in agreement. In just a short time, the hollow rises up after eating a large portion of the other hollow, then turns its attention to the three women. Galatea senses that its Ryatsu has become twice as strong, but believes that her plan shouldn't be affected. Suddenly, the hollow fires a zero without requiring a charge. There wasn't any time to react as Galatea watches the red beam move towards them and has about enough time to close her eyes and wait for certain death. Certain death, not this time. She opens her eyes and is amazed to see Ichigo standing in front of her, deflecting the zero with his own huge sword. She looks to her left and sees Morgan lying on the ground several yards away. It seems she wasn't hit by the zero. She then looks right to see Valerie in the same disposition. What exactly happened, she thinks to herself. Using her Yoma powers, she closes her eyes and concentrates, feeling the Yokin Ryatsu energy signature that happened several seconds ago. She sees Ichigo knocking Valerie and Morgan out of the way, then moving in front of her to block the hollow's attack. How did he move so fast? He saved all three of them. She's in his debt, but can she trust this stranger? Ichigo initiates his trademark attack. Getsuga Tensho. The blue-colored, crescent wave travels along the ground at high speed, racing towards the hollow. The attack hits the giant dead center, explodes and sends it crashing into the side of the mountain. Galatea is amazed, to say the least, at how powerful this boy is. She looks at the deep gash in the ground created by Ichigo's attack. "Hey!" Ichigo says while turning around to face her, "Are you okay?" "Fine," she answered, "I'm just fine." "I'm glad," he responds. In the north, Miria has been watching the battle unfold. She's in slight awe at the power of the Hollows and especially Ichigo, himself. Never has she seen these kind of devastating attacks before. These beings truly are dangerous, possibly even more than awakened ones, she thinks to herself. She decides that it's important to keep an eye on this boy with orange hair. The group in the south has been watching the battle patiently as well, with eager anticipation. The leader, Rizz, believes that with the appearance of this boy, his plans will soon come to fruition. "Did you see that?" Gulliver asked. "Of course we did, you dimwit," retorted Lovino, "we aren't blind. That kid is very strong. He killed the creature with only one attack." Lugar exclaimed. "Look again, it's still alive." "The boy may be strong," Reinhardt states, "but he is very naive to think that just one attack is going to bring it down." "Good observation, Reinhardt." Rizz responds, "This battle isn't over yet." Back at the battlefield, the Hollow begins to move and slowly reaches for the mountainside to use as a handhold. Ichigo helps Galatea up from the ground, picks up her claymore, then hands it to her, smiling. She takes her sword, swings it at Ichigo and stops the blade just a few centimeters from his neck. Ichigo's eyes open wide, clearly in shock. "Talk. Just who are you?" "I'm Ichigo, Ichigo Kurosaki. Substitute Shinigami." "Substitute, what?" "Death God in certain languages, Soul Reaper in others." "Death God? Soul Reaper, I've never heard of those before. What exactly are you and those other creatures doing here?" "I don't know what I'm doing here. I remember fighting a Jillian, then I ended up here." "Jillian? How do I know that you aren't with those creatures? All three of you appeared here at the same time. Didn't you hear what I just said?" Ichigo screams loudly. Galatea moves her blade closer to Ichigo's neck, nearly cutting his skin. "Shut up and answer my question. If I were with those Hollows, would I really try to kill them?" "Point taken, but still. What the hell do I have to do to prove?" "Wait, you just called those creatures Hollows?" "Yeah, they're called Hollows. Those two are Jillian-class Minos. In a nutshell, they're souls that turn into corrupt spirits which devour the souls of both living and dead humans, sometimes even other Hollows. The hole in their chest pretty much means that they've lost their heart, or something like that." "I see. Well, earlier, the Hollow you struck down ate the other one." "What?" "That's why the mask looked different. It's growing, trying to change into an Ajuchas-class Minos." "A what?" "A stronger, more powerful Hollow." "Stronger?" "Yeah, stronger. The more Hollows it eats, the closer it becomes to turning into one of those things. There's possibly enough dead Hollows here for him to feast on to accomplish that task, but the strange thing is, there shouldn't be any dead Hollows at all." "What do you mean?" "Hollows are supposed to disappear when struck down." "Disappear?" "Yeah, normally once a Hollow is defeated, its body disappears and its soul either enters Soul Society or is destroyed completely." "Soul Society? Long story. I'm sure we have plenty of TI, wait, it's still alive. It's moving." "What?" "The Hollow, I can sense its yoki. It's coming." "What the hell's a yoki?" "Ugh, never mind, so now what?" "Guess I'm just going to have to stop it." "Do you have a plan?" "Plan? I'm just gonna go and kill it." "Some plan. You got a better one?" "Maybe." "Wah." The Hollow is finally up and starts walking towards Ichigo and Galatea. Ichigo stands with the left side of his body facing the hollow while holding his zanpakuto horizontally at his right side with both hands as the tip of the sword touches the ground. Galatea stands several feet away with her sword in hand. As soon as the hollow gets closer, she runs towards Ichigo and steps onto Zangetsu as he swings her over his head. She launches headfirst at the hollow while Ichigo shoots a Getsuga Tensho horizontally, cutting off both of its legs. The hollow fires a Zero at Galatea while falling forward, missing her by just a few feet. With the hollow in range, she attacks its head using fast, multiple slashes and strikes that cuts the mask to pieces. The hollow's painful scream echoes down the valley as it crashes face first into the ground. Galatea lands in the deep snow on her feet, next to Ichigo. Nice job. Thank you. By the way, I didn't get your name. I didn't give it. Galatea pointing the tip of her blade at Ichigo's face. Ichigo turns around, what the hell is wrong with you? Thanks for the help, but like I said, I'm still not sure if I can trust you. What do I have to do to? The hollow stirs, then begins moving slowly. Hold on, it's still alive. What? You've gotta be kidding. Ichigo turns around and runs toward the fallen hollow, angrily driving Zangetsu deep into its skull. Getsuga Tensho. Ichigo's attack erupts from the inside of the hollow causing it to split completely in half. Breathing heavily, Ichigo slowly gets up and looks for any movement from the hollow. At that moment in the south, Zyger finally decides to make his move. Lugar, go and bring me his head now. Remember, we need enough of his body for the experiments. Yes sir, I'll take care of it. The man's pupils change from silver to bright orange, both iris change from circular to long vertical slits and the sclera begins to blacken. He quickly takes off towards Ichigo's location with speed that rivals Shunpa. I think it's dead, finally. I can't sense any more of its yoki. Good, but what the hell is a yoki? A yoki is the energy of a yoma. What's a yoma? Ugh, a yoma is a demon that eats humans, specifically a human's innards. After eating a human, it's able to take that human's form including all memories. Yes, that's what we're dealing with as well. She turns her head suddenly and looks to the south. She feels an immense and powerful yoki coming towards them at great speed. Something is coming, really fast, heading straight for us. Ichigo looks around and finally feels the huge Ryatsu coming their way. It's strange, it feels almost like a mixture of a hollow's spiritual pressure and, these female warriors, yoki. What could it be? Whatever it is, it's strong, stronger than the hollow that we just fought. Get ready, it's almost here. By the way, my name is Galatea. Ichigo and Galatea stand with weapons drawn, waiting for whatever is approaching from the south to appear. A group of trees located in the southern area are suddenly cut down by an unseen force. Then there's silence. For several seconds, nothing can be seen or heard except the snow blowing through the valley. Unexpectedly, Galatea feels the Yoma's yoki and pushes Ichigo away while simultaneously blocking the Yoma's surprisingly quick attack with her sword. Ichigo slides backwards creating two long tracks in the snow-covered ground. Miria, whose current location is on a plateau in the northern area, senses the other yoki at the battlefield and decides to examine the situation at a closer distance. She swiftly runs down the slope of the north mountain closest to the valley and takes cover behind a large boulder atop the western ridgeline. DMN, another awakened being, she thinks to herself, but this yoki seems to be nearly at the same level as Regaldo. Who the F is he? Nice save, Beach. I wanted to finish this quickly, but you just had to go and save him, and do things the hard way. Just who the hell are you? The name is Lugar, boy. Third Horseman. I've come here to take your head. Horseman. An awakened being, what do you want with him? This doesn't concern you, Claymore. Stay out of our business or I'll kill you, then use your dead body as my, plaything. What the hell did you say? I'll Galatea, stay back, I'll take care of this guy. Ichigo, so, you're gonna take care of me? Kid, you have no idea who I am. Heh, the same can said for you. You don't know me and have no idea what I'm capable of. Talk is cheap, boy, show me. Lugar begins his transformation. His yoki explodes. Ichigo is noticeably shaken and feels that Lugar's spiritual pressure is equivalent to that of an Arankar. He believes that in his current state, he might not be a match for the horseman, so. Ichigo swings his Zanpakuto, bringing the tip of the blade around until it's pointing directly at Lugar. He places his left hand over his right arm and the long, white cloth attached to the end of Zangetsu's tang begins to wrap around Ichigo's right arm. His Ryatsu begins to spike as a bright blue aura surrounds his body. Ichigo grins. Ban, Kai. Southeast of Pieta. A battle between two powerful individuals. One a death god, the other an awakened being, both augmented by hollow powers. The arena, a small valley surrounded by mountains located south of the town where 17 Claymore warriors lost their lives in a battle against an army of awakened beings. The audience, a group of 4 mysterious beings, a group of Claymore warriors, one former Claymore a survivor of the battle in Pieta and, one other. As Lugar transforms, the air around him explodes in all directions, causing near hurricane force winds as a bright, crimson-red wave of light engulfs nearly the entire valley, including most of the spectators. Galatea utilizes her sword as an anchor by stabbing it into the ground and holding onto the handle. Miria shields herself behind the giant boulder which she used earlier to avoid being detected while observing the situation below. Ichigo uses his own Ryatsu to provide protection from the chaotic outpouring of Lugar's Yoki/Ryatsu. It lasts only several seconds, but long enough for Lugar to relish in his own power. Huyuya. As the mixture of smoke and snow disperse, an outline of a large figure appears until Lugar is clearly visible. Black fur covers his entire body. 6 long, curved, bony spikes protrude from his shoulder blades, 3 on each side forming a pair of wings. Each of his fingers on both hands have changed into 12-inch long blades. His lower body is covered in bone armor, from his upper thigh to the top of his clawed feet. His face is wolf-like with a short snout and 2 huge, inverted fangs in place of his lower cuspids. The strangest thing about his transformation is the appearance of a hollow hole in the center of his chest, encompassed by several shark-like teeth, both in front and back of his body. His eyes are bright orange and cat-like with completely black scaras. I'm gonna rip your guts out and devour it while I tear your funny-looking head from that scrawny butt body of yours, boy. Ichigo grins, his visible, blue aura expands violently outward. The physical pressure of his Ryatsu is overwhelming. He swings his Zanpakuto, bringing the tip of the blade around until it's pointing directly at Lugar. The blade glows bright blue, as does his eyes. He places his left hand over his right arm as the long, white cloth attached to the end of Zangetsu's tang begins to wrap itself around Ichigo's arm. Ban, Kai. The tip of Zangetsu's blade suddenly discharges an enormous Getsuga Tensho, ripping through the ground. Lugar quickly sidesteps to the right, barely evading the energy wave. Shocked at how large and powerful the attack was, he looks over at Ichigo, whose blue aura has changed to jet black with a reddish outline. Lugar senses that Ichigo's Ryatsu has gotten more massive and more evil as well. What the F did he do? What the hell is this Bankai thing, he says out loud. As Ichigo's black aura begins to slowly dissipate, his Bankai form is finally revealed to everyone. He utters 2 words. Tensa Zangetsu. Ichigo's meat cleaver-shaped Zanpakuto transforms into a straight-edged odachi with a black blade. The white, cloth wrapping has changed into a short-length chain with a broken link at the end which dangles from the kashira. Ichigo's shihakusho is replaced with a tighter-fitting, long-sleeved, ankle-length black shihakusho, which ripped and ragged at the bottom near his feet, closed at his midsection and underneath, has a red inner lining. Is this some type of awakening? Miria asked herself. His yoki has definitely changed. Galatea said aloud, it's gotten more immense, at least by 10-fold. It's also quite ominous now, making the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. I really don't know what to think, I'll just have to keep my guard up. He changed his clothes and weapon while increasing his yoki, questioned a puzzled Gulliver. What? He didn't like what he was wearing before. I think it's more than that, you idiot, Reinhardt replied. Yes, it's definitely something more, all of you be quiet and just watch. Ziger commanded. Yes, sir, they all responded. So, you have a transformation also? Honestly, it's not very impressive, you're just wearing a different shirt now and holding a different weapon. Ha, I'm gonna have fun tearing you to shreds. Oh, really? Ichigo disappears and Lugar loses sight of him for an instant. In less than a heartbeat, Ichigo appears in front of him and cuts Lugar's left fang in half, which falls to the ground. Lugar jumps back in obvious pain, holding the remainder of the tooth that's still attached to his lower jaw, staring at Ichigo in disbelief. Are you really that stupid? You should have cut my head off with that attack instead of my tooth. Is showing off really necessary? Don't expect me to do the same because I'm just going to flat out kill you. Lugar raises his right hand, pointing every finger blade at Ichigo, then all at once, each blade shoots out at high speed. Ichigo quickly vanishes then reappears a few yards away, but surprisingly, the blades follow him. Ichigo vanishes several more times, reappearing at different locations until he ends up directly behind Lugar. The blades follow him and a surprised Lugar moves out of the way with incredible speed to avoid them. Ichigo pursues him, both warriors moving in a blur, but the Shinigami is 5 steps quicker. Ichigo swings his Zapakudo causing Lugar to stop in his tracks and block the attack. Unaware that he is standing in between his opponent and the 5 blades following him, Lugar immediately attacks, slashing repeatedly. Ichigo blocks, parries and counters every one of his attacks until, the Yoma/Hollow hybrid gets hit in the back by his own blades. Arg! It seems Lugar got his hands full with this one, Ziger. It would seem so, but it's still too early to tell. Ziger tells him, Lugar has gotten a bit arrogant since killing those 3 awakened beings single-handedly, this fight might be able to bring his ego back down to size. You don't really think that he'll lose, do you? Well, it seems to me that this boy, no matter how young he appears, has a great deal of battle experience. He baited Lugar into a stand-up fight and he stupidly fell for it. Ziger explained, it's hard to believe that he's making a fool out of a former, single-digit, warrior, but Lugar is inexperienced with his new abilities. He'll either have to learn quickly during the battle and adapt to the situation or be killed. We'll just have to wait and see. Lugar stands up from one knee and slowly pulls out each blade from his back. Ichigo watches in surprise as each wound quickly heals. High-speed regeneration. You're gonna pay for that, boy. Lugar roars as a red light begins to grow inside of his hollow hole, while his Yoki/Ryatsu rises. What the hell, Asiro? Ichigo says, surprised. Eat this, you little sh. A giant red beam shoots out from Lugar's chest, disintegrating the falling snow in its path. At the last second, Ichigo disappears, causing the Siro to miss and collide with the face of the eastern mountain. The sound of the explosion can be heard for miles as Ichigo reappears directly behind Lugar again, but... Gotcha, boy. Wah. A Siro discharges from the backside of Lugar's hollow hole, striking an unprepared Ichigo in the chest which sends him flying towards the same boulder where Miria is hiding. Ichigo slams into the big rock with enough force to kill an ordinary human, drops to his knees then falls face first into the deep snow. Ichigo. DMN, this isn't good, Miria says in a low voice, if I'm found out. You might want to get out of there, a voice says to her. Who's there? I don't think now's the time to ask questions. Miria hurries away without being detected and heads towards the voice while drawing her sword in preparation for a possible fight. She looks around but doesn't sense any yoki in the immediate vicinity. The person hiding in the shadows finally makes his appearance, surprising Miria a little. "So, it's you, Louv Ruble. What's wrong? You don't seem too happy to see me." "I, on the other hand, am quite happy to see you. I was hoping that you didn't get killed in Pieta. For some reason, I don't believe you. Anyways, what do you want?" "Always to the point, eh? You haven't changed. I'll ask one more time, what do you want?" "I just want to give you some information, but we should go to a safer location, maybe deeper into the forest." The two travel away from the area of the battle until they come to a location, thick with trees and shrubs. "What's this information that you want to tell me?" "It's about what's happening here. You know what's going on." "I know quite a lot of things, it's what I do." "If you're done admiring yourself." "Well, the name of the person who started all of this is Ziger." "Ziger?" "Yes, he was originally one of the researchers that developed the process to combine Yoma flesh and BLD with humans." "Go on." "As you know, the first generation of warriors that the organization created were failures. The decision to only use males for the first experiments was due to Ziger's insistence, which of course ended with disastrous results. The organization used Ziger as a scapegoat and he was exiled from the organization, then thrown to the wolves, so to speak. The organization didn't expect him to survive in a land full of Yoma, but somehow, he managed to. I believe he was rescued by an awakened being in exchange for something." "Exchange for what?" "I'm not sure exactly, it could be anything. What I do know is that he's recently continued his experiments again." "Experiments? Do you mean he might be trying to create controlled awakened beings?" "No, he's creating something else. Something worse. Worse than an awakened being." "Yes, possibly even worse than the abyssal ones." "Worse than the abyssal ones?" "Unbelievable, I know, but you did sense that boy's yoki as well as those other two large creatures, did you not?" "Yes, but..." "Well, didn't it feel quite different than a Yoma's? More powerful in a way." "Yes, but what does it all mean?" "Simple, those three are not from here." "Do you mean from these lands?" "I mean from this world." "What?" "Ziger found a way to open a doorway to a different world, maybe even a different reality, I'm not certain which." "How do you know all of this?" "I've been here for the past few weeks, watching." "And you haven't been discovered? How are they going to find a person that doesn't resonate any yoki?" "They kidnapped a whole town and brought them to this valley. After all of them were gathered, Ziger sent out a horde of Yoma to massacre everyone. When a large number of the town was killed, the doorway to the other side opened. Small at first, but as more people were killed it grew in size. After a while, strange creatures began appearing. What was strange about these things were the large holes in their chest and the white mask covering their faces." "Hole in their chest?" Miria says in a whisper. "Well, these creatures began to battle with the Yoma, I guess they were fighting for the right to the food source, the humans. When a large number of Yoma were killed, those huge creatures began to appear. The first one appeared about 2 weeks ago, then these other two only a few hours. I'm only guessing here, but I believe Ziger is using these creatures for his current experiments. These creatures are quite powerful, can you imagine if..." "You mean he's combining those creatures with humans?" "No, I think he's combining those creatures with Yoma and even awakened beings." "What you're saying sounds a little extraordinary. Look at the awakened one this boy is fighting, don't you notice anything different with his yoki or the hole in his chest?" "Actually, I did notice. I didn't know what to make of it at the time." "Well, from what I could gather, he's part awakened being and part, whatever those creatures are. I also know that he's a former single digit. Although, I do not know which number." "Single digit?" I believe this is only the first phase, however. Ichigo is looking for more powerful creatures to complete his experiments. After the boy killed the second creature, Ichigo wasted no time in going after him. Can he really accomplish all of this? What's his ultimate goal? I am afraid when it comes to Ichigo, anything is possible. He's actually quite brilliant, in a mad sort of way. But I'm sure revenge against the organization is only part of his motivation. If he were to succeed with these experiments, he'll be able to shift the balance of power his way. It's quite possible that neither the organization or their enemy abroad will have the power to oppose him. I don't need to tell you what would happen if no one stops him. The boy is the key to all of this. I don't know how he's connected to those creatures, but I do believe he could be either our salvation or the instrument of our destruction. So in other words, you feel that I should. Exactly, Miria. I think it would be in all of our best interests if you do everything you can to help this boy. Southeast of Pieta. Darkness surrounds Ichigo. He hears nothing but his own beating heart, nothing but the calm silence, until... Get up, loser. Ha, what? You're such a weakling, it's a miracle that you've survived this long. Who said that? Actually, I take that back, it's not a miracle, it's because of the inner hollow. What did you call him? Oh, that's right, OGC. That's not true, Don't bullshit yourself. The hollow saved your life too many DMN times. You even use his powers to make yourself stronger because deep down inside, you're nothing more than a helpless child. Screw you, you DMN BSTRD. The truth hurts, doesn't it? There's no truth in what you're saying. Really, so you're saying that Byakuya Kuchiki wouldn't have killed you in that fight if OGC didn't interfere? Man, you really are in denial. I could have beaten him, without his help. You really are full of it. Byakuya had you dead to rights. You were helpless, you couldn't move. If he didn't show up, you would be 6 feet under right now. Do you know what your problem is? You're too DMN righteous, you want to help everyone. Hell, you even want to help your enemies. What? Come on, you wanted to cut off your arm and leg so you can have a fair fight with Ulquiorra because you felt that you weren't the one responsible for his injuries. What a load of CRP. Don't you get it, stupid? It was you. It was your body, your Zanpakuto, and your powers that finished him off. Maybe not consciously, but it was definitely you. Maybe I shouldn't blame you though, you are just a moronic simpleton anyway, it's probably because of the way you were raised. Shut the hell up. You've got so much potential, it's scary. It makes me really jealous, to be honest. If I had all that power, I'd lay waste to everything and everyone in my way. I'd kill anyone who pisses me off, enemy, family or friends. Oh, and another thing, what the hell is the matter with you? You have all these appealing women around and, you do nothing. Personally, I like to get my hands on Orihime and... What the hell did you say? I said shut up, damn it. Who the hell are you? What, you haven't guessed yet? You really are stupid. OGC? No, moron. I've been here long before he showed up. Okay, I'll give you a hint. The more you look into me, the more I'll look into you. Still don't know, do you? You're hopeless. Well, don't worry, you'll find out soon enough because, I'm coming for you, Ichigo. Ha 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 ha. Ichigo awakens, screaming at the top of his lungs. He looks around, somewhat disoriented and slowly gets up from the ground. He picks up his Zanpakuto with both hands, slightly shaking. Who the hell was that? He thinks to himself, now's not the time, I gotta finish this fight with Lugar first. Ichigo stands up, looking slightly battered and quickly moves down the hill, stopping just a few feet in front of Lugar while raising his Zanpakuto in a defensive position. Impossible. How the hell did you survive my attack? Lugar shouted, visibly shocked. Huh? You mean you're Zero? I have to admit, you caught me off guard with that, but I withstood a point-blank Zero from the number 4 Espada and trust me, you're nowhere near his level. Zero. Espada? I have no clue what you're talking about, but if you think that you could take me lightly. I don't take anyone lightly, not anymore. So why not use your full strength then? I thought so. Just because you wield a sword, don't assume that you're more superior. Lugar walks over to one of the fallen Claymore, stomps on her arm and takes the sword from her grasp. Valerie. Galatea yells. Damn it, leave her alone. Instead of worrying about others, boy, worry about yourself. Lugar speeds toward Ichigo, extending the finger blades on his left hand while holding the Claymore's sword in his right. He swings at Ichigo's left side, slashes right then a diagonal attack to his neck. Ichigo dodges the first 2 attacks and blocks the third. He pushes away and tries to counterattack with a downward slash, but Lugar sidesteps and spins clockwise, bringing the sword around for a lateral strike to Ichigo's head. Ichigo disappears for a split second, avoiding the killing slide, then swings his Zanpakuto at Lugar's midsection. Lugar quickly moves backwards to avoid the attack, then launches himself forward with a sword move, aiming for Ichigo's chest. Ichigo avoids it, but doesn't see the second attack from Lugar's left hand, which slashes his right shoulder. He grunts as BLD trickles from the wound, down along his arm and onto the ground. First BLD, boy. Ichigo charges forward, clashing swords which causes a multitude of sparks to fly. Lugar tries a slashing uppercut with his left hand, but Ichigo moves his head out of the way and drives his foot into Lugar's solar plexus, pushing him backward several feet. Both pause for a second as Lugar coughs up BLD. He roars as they both charge at each other, clashing swords again. The 6 spikes on Lugar's back begins to vibrate rapidly. Both warriors attack each other with slashes, swings, stabs, and thrusts while the other evades, blocks and parries, neither able to get the upper hand until... What the hell? The 2 lower spikes shoot out from Lugar's back and fly towards Ichigo. He deflects both with his Zanpakuto, but gets slashed in the chest by Lugar's finger blades. Arg. Ha. Still think you can beat me? Ichigo swings wide while holding his chest, but misses Lugar, who steps a few feet back, grinning. I will beat you. Really? Ichigo hears a high-pitched buzz coming from behind and turns to look. The spikes he deflected earlier, comes flying back at him, like a pair of boomerangs. He blocks one, but the other slams into his back and sends him flying several feet into the air. Lugar sees the opportunity to attack and swings the Claymore vertically, cutting Ichigo in his abdomen. He falls to the ground, landing on one knee as BLD gushes out from the open wounds. The boomerang spikes come around again for another pass as Lugar moves in for the kill. What the hell are you doing, Ichigo? Trying to get yourself killed? What? Get your sorry butt up and kill this guy already. Screw fair fight, screw honor. This is all about kill or be killed, using any means necessary to win. When you finally realize that, maybe you'll stop getting your butt kicked so much. Screw you, you BSTRD. You're such a fool. Your funeral then. Don't say I didn't warn you. Ichigo looks up to see both the boomerang spikes and Lugar heading his way. He holds Zangetsu to his left as the visible, black spiritual energy Ryuryoku begins to build around the sword's blade. Getsuga, 10, Eshijo. Ichigo swings his sword and releases an enormous, Kurwa Getsuga, which cuts both boomerang spikes in two. The black wave of energy engulfs Lugar and explodes on impact, hurtling him into the nearby rocks. What was that? Says a shocked Galatea. This boy is dangerous. Miria says while observing the battle from higher ground, Luv could be correct, helping him might be in the best interest for us all. If those people are able to capture and use him for their experiments successfully, then. Bloodied and battered, Lugar slowly gets up, breathing heavily. 3 of the 4 remaining spikes on his back have fractured and broken off, leaving one slightly protruding. Parts of his bone armor have fragmented, exposing some of the torn flesh underneath. Bstrd, I'm gonna kill you. Lugar raises both hands and fires a volley of finger blades at Ichigo. He launches another Kurwa Getsuga, destroying each one in mid-flight. Lugar quickly moves away from the path of the attack and Ichigo gives chase, appearing in front of him, blocking his route of escape and simultaneously severing off his right hand. While reeling back in pain, he shoots off several more volleys of blades from his remaining hand while Ichigo begins to circle him with speed that defies belief. His rate of motion creates several dozen afterimages, causing the blades to collide with one another. How the F does he move so DMN fast? I'm having a difficult time following him and controlling the blades. How's he able to do that? Miria questions in astonishment. He's moving so fast that he's creating numerous images of himself, almost like my mirage technique, but far more superior. As Galatea watches the battle in amazement, she notices Morgan trying to get up slowly from the ground and moves hastily to her aid. I'm alright, Captain, but Valerie needs help. I think she's still unconscious. I'll get her, just go and find cover. Galatea responds, moving towards the fallen Claymore. Frustrated, Lugar fires a Zero which Ichigo easily evades, not realizing at the time that Morgan is directly in the Zero's line of fire. At the last moment, Ichigo quickly moves in front of her and deflects Lugar's attack with his sword, cutting it in half. He then turns to face his opponent. You're finished, Lugar. I'm gonna end this. Using the power of Getsuga to increase the strength and physical force of Zangetsu's blade, he runs forward then disappears. Realizing that Ichigo is about to mount an attack, Lugar opens his mouth and extends his WHP-like tongue, grabbing Galatea by her neck. Ichigo reappears in front of him, raising his Zanpakuto above his head, but before he can deal the finishing blow, Lugar places Galatea in between them. Ichigo stops his blade just short of her head as Lugar extends his finger blades through her back and into his midsection. They both scream in pain. Ichigo staggers backwards then drops to both knees. You used her as a human shield. Ichigo says while nearly passing out. Captain, screams Morgan. DMN, the boy could possibly lose. I've got to do something. Miria thinks to herself. Do you know what makes you weaker than me? Your foolish need to protect everyone, even strangers. That's your downfall, boy. I'm the one who's gonna put an end to this. Darkness begins to envelop Ichigo once again. I warned you, didn't I? Ha. Look at her, she's going to die, again because of you. Look at her, Ichigo. Slowly he raises his head to look, but instead of seeing Galatea, he sees his mother. No. Yeah, she died before, because of you. Now, she's going to die again, for the same reason. No. Yes. Lugar, holding Galatea by her neck, pulls the blades from her back and tosses her to the side. She falls limp on the ground, barely moving. Ichigo sees his mother bleeding to death. No. Kill him. Kill. He slowly picks up his Zanpakuto and suddenly vanishes. Lugar tries to grab Galatea again with his tongue, but Ichigo reappears and cuts it off, along with a large portion of his bottom jaw. Lugar howls in pain as Ichigo slashes his body several times, severing his ear, left arm and right leg. In an act of desperation, Lugar charges a Zero while falling to the ground. Go to hell. Die. Ichigo stabs him in the eye with Zangetsu, the blade piercing the back of Lugar's skull as he lifts him high over his head. Getsuga Tensho. Lugar's head is literally ripped apart by the black mass of energy as the rest of his body falls to the ground. Miria and Morgan are left with fear and dread as they watch a berserk Ichigo continue the assault on Luger's corpse with an unrelenting onslaught of Getsugas, until nothing is left but a smoldering husk. Zeger and the rest of his group finally make their appearance. Ichigo, sensing more Ryatsu/Yoki, turns to face them. He begins to raise his Ryatsu, holding Zangetsu tightly in his right hand. Is this Zeger's group? Miria thinks to herself, if it is, I need to get down there without being spotted. There's no possible way he can handle all four of them by himself. It's too bad we couldn't save Lugar. Yes, not much of his body remains to be of any use. It's just as well, he proved useful until the end. Now I know for a fact that this boy is definitely the one I've been waiting for to complete my experiments. To be able to defeat an awakened, former single-digit, strengthened by these hollow creatures is an amazing feat. Who the hell are you? We've come here to take you with us, dead or alive. I would like to avoid further unnecessary bloodshed, but that's up to you. I can care less which one you choose. My choice, huh? Yes, but choose wisely. Wisely? Well then, I guess I'm gonna choose to. Placing his left hand over his forehead, he begins to summon his hollow mask. It quickly materializes above his head. Kill you all. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Hollowfied Tweaker on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.